Welcome to another episode of OG55. I am joined by the Italiano, Mr. Webba, and the one, the only SamChat is back in the house. We're talking about the next 5 years at the Disneyland Resort. We're dipping into the 70th anniversary. Real casual conversation. We're going to kind of talk about all this stuff and wherever else the conversation may lead. Up next on OG55. Let's get it. Welcome aboard, everybody, to this episode of OG55. And no, you are not seeing things. I am not wearing my glasses today. I actually went to the parks with Danny from Five Fires earlier today. When I go to the parks, I usually wear my contacts. I forgot that I wasn't wearing my glasses, so here we are, the world premiere of OG with no glasses. So I want to put that out there because I know people in the comments are going to ask me about it. But Italiano, welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me back on. And yeah, I thought, what the hell? Everyone else isn't sporting their glasses. I thought, I'll raw dog it too. Might as well.
Exactly. So, George, the raw dog in Italiano, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and BlueSky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There we go. And right below the Italiano is Mr. Webba, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man here on the channel. Mr. Webba, it is always good to see you. Where can everybody find you on social media?
Absolutely. Well, OG, thank you so much for having me on. This is great. First video with this guy right here, SamChat. Awesome. So you can find me, Mr. Webba, at Webslinger760 on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. That's what it is. Yes.
And only
I have to say really quick, you have us placed perfectly because this is accurate that I'm on top and Ebba's on the bottom.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love it, George.
Very much so. Like that dream you guys had, or who had that dream? Was it you, George? The weird dream
that was me. Yeah, my first dream in 15 years. I turn over, I move the blanket, and there's this guy like
I'm just like
with a big smile on his face.
See that there's something with that, George. We need to deep dive into what that all means, but on another show for sure.
We might have to say that for a chit chat.
Yeah, exactly. Member exclusive. But last but certainly not least, Mr. SamChat, friend of the channel. It is good to have you back, Sam. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on SamChat21 on X, formerly known as Twitter. And you can also find me on samchat21.bsky.social over at BlueSky. I'm more active on BlueSky than Twitter these days.
Okay. Yeah, I feel you. I think a lot of people are kind of jumping ship on the X thing, So it's been a thing, and BlueSky has been really blowing up. So I've actually been spending a lot more time on Instagram, which kind of surprises me because I never thought I would be an Instagram kind of guy, but here we are, Yeah. Here we are, life takes you in mysterious directions. But let's dive into our first topic. Well, our only topic really is the 70th anniversary and beyond, right? The next 5 years at the Disneyland Resort. Now, SamChat, you have not been on the show for quite a while now. So I want to start with you. Let's start with the 70th. We got a lot of announcements for this. We're getting Wondrous Journeys back. We're getting a new World of Color. Paint the Night, the GOAT of all nighttime parades, is coming back. Walt Disney Animatronic in the Lincoln Theater. Overall thoughts on the 70th and what we're getting for this?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for the 70th. We're getting Wondrous Journeys back, which I'm really excited to check out. I actually haven't seen it in person yet, but I know like a lot of fans really liked the Wondrous Journeys, so I'm really excited to check it out. And even Paint the Night and like the Walt Disney Animatronic. I'm really excited to see the Walt Disney Animatronic and experience Paint the Night again. Overall, I think this is a pretty solid anniversary celebration that we're looking at here.
Yeah, Paint the Night has been like one of the most requested things, I think, from the fandom, from like the circles that we kind of populate, right? The nerd circles, right? Everyone has wanted Paint the Night to come back. And it's been almost a decade. I mean, I know it had a short little stint over there at DCA for a little while, but it's coming back home to Disneyland. It's exciting. It's absolutely exciting. Now, Sam, you have never seen Wondrous Journeys in person. That show will make a grown man cry. I am telling you right now, you are absolutely going to love it. Have you seen it online at all on YouTube or anything like that?
I've seen like a couple small clips, but I haven't watched the whole show. I wanted to keep it a surprise, but I'm really excited to watch it for the first time. I always cry or tear up watching those fireworks shows. They're very powerful stuff.
Oh no, they are. They're very, very powerful. And this one hits all the right marks. Like it's a love letter to Disney animation. Which is okay. Here's the thing. I loved Wondrous Journeys. I love that show. It's one of my favorites, if not my favorite fireworks show that Disney has ever done at Disneyland. My only quibble or squabble. Squabble. If you're a Kendrick fan, you know what I mean by squabble. Now, my only squabble though with Wondrous Journeys for the 70th is that it's not really about the park. It's more about animation, right? And that's a nerdy little kind of gripe. It's not a big deal, but that's my only quibble with it. But it's an amazing show. Now, real quick before I go to the Italiano, the Walt Disney animatronic. What were your thoughts about that? Do you think this is a hit or a miss potentially?
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. From my understanding, like a lot of the grandkids went and saw the Walt Disney animatronic and they were impressed. I know there were like a few that like don't like the idea at all of having a Walt Disney animatronic, but
yeah,
from my understanding, there were still a lot of Walt Disney's grandkids were happy with it. And from my understanding, they were also working like it's going to be like archival Walt Disney audio. Like it's not going to be like made up words thrown into Walt Disney's mouth. So I really like that they like use old audio and not, made stuff up.
I completely
something if you go into the theater and you just hear Walt just like mustard on the beat,
yeah, that would be bad. That would be bad. This is the thing. I love my Kendrick, I love my hip hop, I do. And I love my Walt, but I don't want my Kendrick and my Walt in the same thing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think the Walt animatronic has the potential to be a really goosebump inducing experience. I mean, it's going to be between his actual voice, and I agree with you, SamChat. I don't want any AI weirdness, I think with his actual words being spoken and having a physical Walt on stage, and assuming this animatronic is going to be very, very lifelike, very, very fluid, it's going to be a very emotional moment, potentially for us diehard fans to see a physical Walt Disney standing there. Something that we haven't had. I mean, obviously we haven't had. They've never done this before. So I'm very curious to see how we react to it. I think as big Walt Disney fans, I think it's going to be huge,
I hope they Oh, go ahead.
No, so you go first.
Real quick, I was just going to say, like, I hope they take good care of it too, because it would be kind of like a bummer if like on one of those like Disney Parks fails videos, like there's like a video of like Walt Disney animatronic not working correctly. That would be kind of sad. So I just hope they really take good care of it once it's there.
I agree. You have the Walt Disney animatronic, the man who founded the company, the man who innovated like crazy, spearheaded this animatronic thing, and you have him like on stage. That's a bad look. So yeah, please take care of it, Disney. Please.
You can't have him being Jack Sparrowed.
Yeah, you don't want that. You do not want that.
For all of you who don't know, just go into Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean and look at the Jack Sparrow audio animatronic at the very end of the ride. Trust me, you'll know what I'm talking about.
There we go.
I remember that.
I wanted to ask about the audio though, right? So if they're getting like his real voice, right? I wonder if there's any like modern technology that can kind of clean up the audio. And what I mean by is make if they can get the audio of his voice to sound like if you saw him like if you heard his voice off like current technology of like a video, right? Because in that era, the TV and the radio sound wasn't like as you hear now on TV or like YouTube, right? So I wonder if there's any technology where they can kind of clear it up so it sounds more like modern time audio, I guess you could say.
I'm for sure like with the technology, yeah, they'll enhance to make it actually sound like he's speaking live
Right, yeah.
than it sound like, coming from a radio or a television set. But the actual sound, the wording, everything that's being said is actual archival audio footage that's actually coming from the Walt Disney Family Museum, from what I've heard.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. There are, and I as a content creator, I've actually used these apps before, but there's apps for like the iPad that you can remove like static and like background noise. Like you upload a video or a clip, and it'll remove that static, right? The Walt Disney Company has resources like you wouldn't believe, way more than I do, you know. Obviously, you know, so I think that I think that's a great question though, Webba, but I do think they're going to clean that up to make it seem like it's not an audio animatronic with a recording coming out of his mouth, where it's going to actually sound like a person, right?
Right, and that was my question. Was like I was thinking, okay, obviously I'm really excited about the audio animatronic, but I was worried about we're going to have a modern audio animatronic with a old school sounding Walt, you know, in that format. I was like, that's gonna be kind of weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is potentially an issue because you're trying to sell this thing as him standing on stage. Yeah. So you can't have that 1950s, 1960s sort of grainy audio. It has to really sound like he's in the room. So I'm assuming they're going to address that. They should address that. And that's a huge issue, you know? Now I am nervous because they have to nail this animatronic. Like they can't, a lot of people were very critical of the Epcot statue, the Walt Disney, and just the way he looked, they didn't really nail it 100%. I'm hoping it's not one of those situations where the animatronic isn't really spot on, where there's like a lot of
the AI that they used for the Disney 100 exhibit, where I know it's a newer kind of technology. It was the first of its kind to use it for Walt, but it just kind of missed the mark for me. He looked a little bit too AI, if that makes sense. His hair didn't look real. His teeth didn't look. His complexion didn't look right. It was, I don't know. He looked very plastic to me.
It looked like he had veneers.
Yeah.
Right. And his hairline was off. Yeah. It wasn't 100%. It was close for sure, but it wasn't like him. You know what I'm saying? It felt off.
So what I want to say too about the audio animatronic, I hope they give him a more lifelike appearance. Okay. For example, right. With Tiana's Bayou Adventure, of course, I have not been on it, so I cannot fully judge, but seeing the videos and whatnot, right? Like these more modern, like audio animatronics that are based off, like, you know, like a cartoon animated movie. To me, like the physical outer appearance looks very plasticky. So I hope that with the Walt Disney audio animatronic, he looks more like a regular human being with like details in the skin and stuff like that, right? Whereas like my Tiana and all them, they look very shiny, very smooth, plastic. Again, because I consider they're cartoons, so sure. But I want Walt to look more like a lifelike figure.
No, I agree with you, Webba. And actually, and I can't even believe I'm going to say this, you know, I might lose my special access, Webba. We'll see. I might. No, but the monsters that they're doing for Dark Universal, right? And I said this in our video when we talked about it with Slimer and you guys. I talked about how the skin textures on those monsters look very, very realistic. You know what I'm saying? I want to see like that level for this Walt thing. I don't want it to, like you were saying, I don't want it to look cartoony. Now for Tiana, that's fine. Tiana is a cartoon. But for Walt, I want a really realistic skin texture and everything where you really believe it's him. And please do not look like the Donald Trump animatronic over at the Hall of Presidents.
Yeah, we don't want to Walt Disney trying to impersonate Hillary Clinton.
Yes, exactly. So interesting stuff, though. I mean, the 70th. I mean, I'm excited overall.
I do want to say, kind of going back to the original question, I feel like for me with the 70th overall, I feel like the Walt Disney audio animatronic is going to be the centerpiece of this particular anniversary. I feel like Wondrous Journeys and Paint the Night is just going to be kind of like extra add-ons just to kind of throw in there, and I wasn't really expecting anything too huge, other than me, but to come out of this anniversary, because for me, I feel like that they're banking on the 75th, and when the 70th kicks off in 2025, they usually hold it for like a year or so. So by the time it ends, it could be closer to the end of 2026 going into 2027. Well, in a few short years, here comes the 75th. So I feel like if they do everything that they want to do now, there's going to be nothing really left for the 75th. And I feel like that's a more higher milestone than the 70th. But we may get a few little extra surprises. I mean, during the holiday parade that's going to premiere on ABC on Christmas Day, Disney did say that they're going to announce more in-depth details on the 70th during the parade.
Ooh.
So
I didn't know that.
That's
Go ahead,
cool.
Webba. Yeah, that is cool. I didn't know that.
So I have 3 things I think I want to address. One, like SamChat, I have not seen Wondrous Journeys. I haven't even seen it on video. What?
You said you have 3 things to cover. Maybe we should order a pizza.
Fuck you, George. So like SamChat, I haven't seen Wondrous Journeys. I haven't even seen it on video. So my favorite fireworks show today still is Remember Dreams Come True. With the 70th anniversary, I find that the color scheme, the pattern, like for the 70th, is very interesting. Like, what do you guys think what that could mean in terms of the overall celebration, right? Because it's kind of like that mixed orange, yellow, blue thing or whatever. Like, you think that's significant or?
Well, the orange is definitely an homage to OG 55 and all of us. Let's be honest, right? Let's be honest. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think actually I'm encouraged by the color scheme. Because 55, I'm encouraged by the color scheme because one of my big criticisms of the 60th was the lack of fun. It kind of took itself like super serious. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? With the diamonds and everything. It was just so super serious. But like in Walt's day, like if you look back at the 10th like the 10th anniversary of Disneyland, it was very fun. He had dancing cake, okay? Literally dancing pieces of cake in front of the castle. It was a fun celebration. This logo, the color scheme, feels like they're bringing the fun back to the anniversary. But I'm curious, SamChat, what are your thoughts on that? The color scheme and what that might say about the tone and the vibe about this celebration.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like it's going to be, we're looking at more of a, fun celebration. It's fun watching like the 10th anniversary of Disneyland and seeing like the cake walk around and dance. And it's cool too, because like the front of the castle looks a lot like it does today, even in that video. So it's cool to see like that front of the park hasn't changed that much. But like, yeah, going back to your original question, yeah, it looks like it's going to be more of a fun celebration. It probably won't take itself as seriously. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I also agree with the color scheme. I think it's going to be more upbeat. It's going to be more fun. I don't have a problem with that, but I have to say, Mickey and Minnie's outfits are fugly. Like I just don't get it. I don't mind. I don't think it's so much of the color. I think it's more of the design of the costumes themselves. It looks like, honestly, like Mickey's jacket looks like it was tailored by Stevie Wonder. like it's like it feels like it's like all out of like proportion. One side's longer than the other. It's like, and I get it. It has like that fun thing, but I don't know. It's kind of lost in translation for me.
I feel like it has a very 80s vibe. Like, I don't know if you guys remember like Totally Mini, that kind of energy for sure. Like that 80s, maybe early 90s-ish,
Yeah, I would have used those outfits for the 90s event. Like for the 90s event that's going to be in March. Those are the outfits that I would kind of utilize for it because it's like a 1 or 2 night event. Like these are the outfits that we have to see them in for like almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would have done something fun, vibrant, upbeat, but I don't know. I wouldn't have done something like that. It looks like a shag carpet.
Well, now SamChat. Go ahead, Webba.
So I want to touch base on a third thing, but if you have something else, OG, to say, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, touch base on the third thing, because you might actually address what I was going to ask him anyway. So go ahead, Webba.
Okay, I was gonna ask you guys. Okay, so I know that everybody's excited about Paint the Night returning, right? Yay! Right, great. What I don't understand is why they're not bringing back Magic Happens.
Literally, that is exactly what I was going to ask SamChat. Like,
Great
same
minds think
wavelength.
alike.
Yes, exactly. So no, it's a money thing. I think it's a money saving thing. I mean, Disney has been able to handle daytime and nighttime parades for generations. There's no excuse in my opinion for them to not do that. So I think it's a money saving thing, which is very unfortunate. But what are your thoughts, SamChat?
Yeah, because even for the Diamond Celebration, they had Mickey's Sensational Parade in the day, and then they had Paint the Night and Disneyland Forever at night. So yeah, they had 2 parades for the 60th. So it's interesting that they don't have 2 parades for the 70th. But yeah, I agree. I would have loved to have seen Magic Happens Day. Maybe they could have moved it to DCA.
I was just
temporarily.
I was just going to say that because I feel like it's also an operational point as well towards Disney to have both parades, because literally when you just have a day parade, whether it's like just 1 time a day or 2 times a day, to relocate yourself from one side to the park to the other is a nightmare.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like of having like sections of the park blocked off. You can't go this way, so you have to go back and circle around. So to do that with 2 parades, but I do agree with you. What I would have done, but again, I don't know what Disney has up their sleeve with DCA as far as like with what's going to go on with Avatar and Coco, because who even knows really the parade route for DCA, is that even going to be usable at the time, depending on where these things are going to go. If that was not the case, I would have put Paint the Night at DCA and kept Magic Happens at Disneyland.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other can of worms, which I think we should definitely address today, because the leading rumor is that the Pandora is going to take over Hollywoodland. Now, we don't know which parts of Hollywoodland. If it takes over the Hollywood Studios element of it, which is basically like where Smoofies or
Schmoozies?
And Smoozies, right? From Smoozies and beyond, like Smoozies to like Monsters Inc., right? That whole back area and like into the bus load unload area. Okay, then we can still have parades because it doesn't affect the parade route. But if Pandora takes over all of Hollywoodland, or the main Hollywoodland, right? Not just that side corner, you would have to redirect the parade. So that's an issue. Another issue is the Coco boat ride. We've heard rumors that it would be going behind the Incredicoaster, which is another parade float storage area, which I understand people have been saying like you can maneuver that and there's room, and there probably is, but that does pose a question though, for that parade as well, if they're willing to go back there and how they're going to work all that in. So
right. Well, I would have to think, right, or I would have to assume that Disney is well aware of the parade route issue, right? Because if Avatar goes in the Hollywood area, Avengers Campus is getting 2 new attractions. This is kind of getting a whole rehaul, basically, right? So it's extending in size. Then we have Coco, right? So I would think Disney already has a concept in their head of where they want to reroute the parade or have extra like backstage storage for the parade floats.
Or unless that's Disney's answer that they don't want to do a parade at all at DCA.
Maybe not. I mean, because look, how often do you see? At least for me, right? How often do you see parades in DCA? Like the last one I saw was at Oogie Boogie.
What is it?
The Frightfully Fun Parade. I think that's how.
What the hell is the Pixar one called?
Together Forever or something. I don't know.
Forever. I always forget the names of them. They have them between the Pixar fireworks and the parade.
Wait, but was that a parade or was that a cavalcade?
Cavalcade.
I think it was a cavalcade.
Okay, yeah. So fuck that. It's not even a real parade. It's a little fucking dinky thing, right? Like,
I think it's an extension of a cavalcade, because a cavalcade for me, I would say it's like 1 or 2 like vehicles
Right. Yeah.
That's it. This was still like a full-on parade where there's still like they have like the Luca float, they have the turning red float. They still have certain floats where it's the same length of a parade, but the design concept of it looks like a cavalcade.
Now, here's an interesting thing. SamChat, you brought up a great point, which I didn't really consider. For Oogie Boogie Bash, which is a big event for DCA. This is a money-making thing for DCA. Huge revenue stream for them, for Disney. You have the big selling point for that is that parade. If you get rid of parades at DCA, you get rid of that. Is Disney willing to leave that money on the table? I don't think they are.
Well, OG, but here's the
That's a
thing,
good
though.
point.
Is that
Right?
before we had Oogie Boogie Bash in DCA, we had a Halloween party in Disneyland. Why can't we just have it back in Disneyland?
You could.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Maybe just move it back.
You could do that. You could do that. I think though the benefit though of having a Halloween celebration in DCA is because it's DCA. You have permission, so to speak, to be a little edgier. Obviously, they're not going to go like HHN style, you know, but they can have a little more of an edge at DCA. At Disneyland, you can't, you know.
Well, and I think DCA gets the brunt of Disneyland anyway. It's always nice to see DCA have something to look, you know, for us to look forward to actually go to DCA. But we also have what?
Sorry, George, because you said that, and I have a thought I want to say after you finish.
Oh God, I can't wait to hear this one. But we also have to consider the fact we're talking about the state of DCA of what it looks like now.
Right.
Its initial footprint now. When they start Disneyland Forward and they start moving into the Simba parking lot, that's gonna almost double the size of DCA. So who even knows really what they have planned over there? Could they add a new parade route that'll just be over towards that section of the park?
It's possible.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So sorry, OG.
All right, let's hear it.
No. Okay. So I do apologize for laughing, but the reason why I laughed is because as you were saying that, I had a thought in my head, right? Because we always talk about, like OG, you always say, DCA sits in DCA sits in the shadow of Disneyland, right?
Right.
Now, I always tell George, in my opinion, DCA is not worth a single day admission. To me, it is not. If you took out, the Pixar events, you took out Oogie Boogie, you took out the whole Lunar Year thing, right? You took out all these events, the Sip and Savior thing. If you take all these out, will that park be as popular without all those events? Will it be as popular? So I'm thinking, are these events like Oogie Boogie in that place to draw more people to that park?
Well,
That's a good point.
That's a good point because there isn't, and I've been saying this for a long time. DCA doesn't really have. DCA has the e-ticket problem, and it has a family ride problem, and DCA suffers from a lot of the same things that I actually complained about Universal for, is that they don't really have stuff like that you can do for the whole family necessarily, like attraction wise, right? Like you have Mermaid, which is a family ride. Even Radiator Springs Racers, though, isn't really for the entire family. Like sometimes people, even that is a little too intense for some people. You don't really have a Pirates of the Caribbean. You don't really have a Haunted Mansion over there. Now, Coco is going to change that. That's awesome. But it doesn't have a lot of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Ebba, you're right. You have to offset that with a lot of these events because like the physical stuff that's in the park isn't really a whole lot. And if you have any limitations in regards to what you can or what you're willing to do in terms of attractions, you're really limited. Like if you don't like for example, if you don't like fast rides or thrill rides, that already takes off the table two of the biggest rides in that park, which is Mission Breakout and Incredicoaster. Already a park that's low on attractions, you've already eliminated two. And maybe even racers, because that might even be for some people. I mean, that's a pretty fast attraction. It's not for everybody. Mm-hmm. They need more everybody rides in that park, Go ahead, George. I know you had a joke you wanted to tell.
I just had to say, I had to start laughing because, Eva, when you said, I think you wanted to say sip and savor, you said sip and savior. And I don't know why, I just thought of like just Jesus sitting at the Last Supper, like sipping on his chalice of wine.
Right.
Well, there we go, Brother George.
There he is. That's actually one thing though. I was raised Catholic, you know. I'm not like, I mean, I am Catholic. I mean, technically I don't really practice or whatever, but I go, you know, occasionally. With my ex-girlfriend, I'd go all the time. I'd actually go to Vietnamese mass. I know, and understood every word of it, believe it or not. No, I was kidding. I didn't. No, but, but the thing is that's one thing when you go up and you get the bread, right? And then the wine. I'd always skip on the wine. I don't know why. It's a germ thing for me. I don't know.
Well, yeah, because you're all sharing out of the same cup, and I'm like, I don't know who the hell these people are. I don't know like what kind of STDs they're all carrying.
I don't know you like that. I don't know you like that. And I'm sorry, the wiping. I know they wipe it in between sips. That's
yeah,
not.
They wipe it with a cloth like that. Really, no, like get some like Windex and some Febreze and like spray that shit down. Like,
Yeah, no, 100%. What are your thoughts on everything we talked about, SamChat, in terms of you know, like the value of DCA, basically?
I agree. Actually, I haven't been to DCA in over 2 years. My last visit to DCA was in 2022, so like 2 years ago for the holidays. I've been to Disneyland a few times since, but I've actually been skipping DCA as of late and only going to Disneyland because, and I probably, I don't know if I'm gonna head back until like they build like the new Coco ride or like the new Avatar, the new Avengers thing. But yeah, I agree with Mr. Webb. But like when you take away these events, like the food and wine pass or like the Halloween parade to accommodate like construction, like you really start to diminish the value of DCA. So hopefully, like when they start construction on these things, it would be cool if maybe they'll start offering like discounted tickets. I don't think they would, but that would be nice if they did.
now, Sam,
But like,
Sam, let me ask you: your choice to not go into DCA since 2022, is it because of what Ebba was saying? Because you just don't feel the need to go in there because it's like it doesn't really give you your bang for your buck. It's not a full day.
yeah, it's not really like, yeah, kind of that. Also, too, like, I don't know why. Whenever I go to DCA, I always just feel kind of stressed. Like, I always just feel more chill and calm at Disneyland. I don't know. Maybe that's just like a personal preference of mine, but I just prefer Disneyland.
Okay, that's fair. And one of the issues that I have is that I feel a lot of fans, and I feel Disney themselves, even, to be honest, especially Disney, actually, I feel like they don't take DCA seriously enough. Like DCA needs to be a better park. You know,
It does.
It needs several more e-tickets for sure, which is amazing because we got like 4 e-tickets announced at D23 in 2024. The Coco, the 2 Avengers, Pandora. I think DCA will be a very different park in like 5 years.
I would agree. And that's a great jumping off point. Like we did DCA. Yeah, absolutely. DCA has gotten a lot of announcements this last expo, which is good to see. But
and this is within its own current footprint too. So just within that notion, DCA is going to be very different, to Sam's point. And then adding Disneyland Forward on top of it, we're probably never even going to recognize DCA. And that's where I think down the line, there is probably going to be somewhat of, I think, of a name change.
I was talking to Danny today about this at the park. We were talking about this very thing, and we both agreed that like DCA needs a name change. And you don't need to go drastically in any direction, really, but just do the Disney Cinematic Adventure thing. All the diehard Disney nerds like us can still call it DCA, easy peasy, right? But you add that cinematic in there, that cinematic theme. Now that gives Disney permission to basically put whatever they want in there. You can theoretically put a Moana area in there now, which I know Disney, you want to do that so bad. Obviously, Moana is a huge franchise. You can put anything really. I mean, you can put Villains Land if you wanted to, which would make, I know a lot of people think automatically, well, Villains Land should go into Disneyland. Well, if they keep Oogie Boogie Bash and they keep DCA as the spot for the Halloween events, that's the place to be for Halloween. Villains Land actually makes more sense than DCA. You know what I'm saying? And so you can theoretically do that stuff in the symbol lot if you change the theme to Disney Cinematic Adventure. Now, the only issue with Disney Cinematic Adventure is that the stuff right now that doesn't have a IP tie-in like Grizzly, I mean, very loosely. I know they got the little, the what's that guy? The
Big Al?
ranger. No, the rain on Grizzly Peak, the ranger from the old 1950s.
The ranger and from the Humphrey the Bear.
Yeah, I know they technically, I guess that's an IP. It is. But I mean, but if the whole park is Disney Cinematic Adventure, I think they're going to really lean into the IP more. Grizzly would probably get something more than just that.
The only thing that I would think that would save Grizzly is Grand Cali. That to me, I think the overall aesthetics of Grizzly would stay, but they may like dress something up with an IP, just to still keep the aesthetics. That's why I think honestly the Country Bears would have been perfect.
Yeah,
Dude, I'm telling you, dude.
Country Bears would be
you
good.
put Country Bears in that area, and then you turn Soren into TailSpin. Got it? Got it. Okay,
there
cool.
we go. And we're done. You call it a day. TailSpin's awesome, by the way. I love TailSpin.
Oh,
Wait, where's TailSpin?
TailSpin is never heard of TailSpin. TailSpin is the Disney afternoon cartoon with Baloo.
Oh,
Mhm.
see, that's past my. That was made like 10, 20 years before I was born. So
Okay. Yeah, it's an oldie but goodie. Absolutely. It was early 90s. I think that premiered in like 93.
was it around the same time that like DuckTales, like the old version, premiered?
Pretty much. It was that whole like DuckTales, Gummy Bears, Rescue Rangers kind of era. Darkwing Duck. Yep. All that.
I actually watched the reboot of DuckTales, but I never saw the original.
What did you think about that? Did you like that one?
I like the reboot of DuckTales. It had some fun episodes. My favorite episode, I don't know if you saw it, but like there's like a really fun TV episode where like Donald and Goofy and the gang get trapped in like a TV show. It was, I think, season 3, episode 2. That was my favorite.
Nice. And the thing I like that show a lot, actually. I like the reboot a lot. It was kind of, in my opinion, the perfect mix of like, it rode the nostalgia of the old show for sure, but it did its own thing as well, right? And I actually like, and I know a lot of the anti-woke people are gonna like get on me for this, but I don't care. I don't really care. This is my opinion. If you don't like it, that's cool too. But I like the fact that Webby was a little bit more of a badass in the reboot. It made more sense story-wise, right? And I know a lot of anti-woke people don't like that whole thing, right? But it made sense. She grew up with the nephews, so it would make sense that she'd be a little bit more of a tomboy, and had a little bit. She would kind of play like a boy would, right? It makes sense. Like it makes more sense than her being like this really girly girl, in my opinion. And I loved her character in the reboot. I thought it was great, but I don't know.
I liked
too much of a problem with the reboot. The only stipulation I have with it is I just couldn't get past the voices.
That's fair. Yeah,
that's the only thing. As far as like the storyline, the animation, I did enjoy it, but I just couldn't get past the voices for Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
And that was actually one idea I had, SamChat, for Grizzly. If you want to add an IP, is DuckTales, because you can actually
That'd be a good one.
Would that be great? Because you can keep the Grizzly Peak theme, and you can have Scrooge and the boys and Webby going on an adventure to Grizzly Peak to find some hidden treasure in the mountain, right? So you're utilizing Grizzly Peak, but it's just the characters are kind of playing in that environment, which I think would be kind of cool, a cool way to kind of incorporate IP into that mountain without actually drastically changing the experience, you know? So
yeah, that'd be cool. It doesn't seem like it would be too hard to add like DuckTales characters. Maybe, I mean, I don't want to like annoy fans, but I feel like you could add like a few projections into like the caves of like the nephews like going on an adventure.
It'd be awesome.
I feel like it wouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You can definitely do that. It'd be kind of fun. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, okay, so we have Avatar. SamChat, I want to ask you, I want to pick your brain. Where do you think it's going? You think it's going into Hollywood Land? You think it's going into Symbolot?
I think it's going to go in Hollywood Land. You know, I would actually prefer the Symbolot personally, just because then you don't have like the monorail to work with. But I have a feeling they're going to put it in Hollywood Land because Josh D'Amaro at the D23 Expo said that like all this will be finished in 5 years. So I feel like it would be faster for them to build it in Hollywood Land than it would be to build it at the Symbolot, because if you build in the symbol lot, then you have to like wait for like a parking structure, the whole parking structure to be built before you even break ground on Avatar Land, the symbol lot, right? Because you can't lose parking. But like, and I'm no construction expert by any means, but it seems like it would be much faster to like build a whole new like bus terminal area, maybe on the other side of Harbor Boulevard, possibly reinstate the Eastern Gateway project, and then build build Pandora and like that, that space where with the Hollywood Pictures backlot and where the old bus terminal is. It seems like that would be faster than like waiting like 2 whole years to even just build the parking structure alone, then break ground in Avatar Land and the symbol lot. So personally, it seems like Hollywood Land would be, I feel like it's going to go in Hollywood Land.
Yeah, because you can technically, you're right, SamChat, because you would still need the Eastern Gateway to put it in Hollywood Land, but you're right, where you can kind of phase the project a certain way, where as long as you're not digging in the busload area, you can start Pandora sooner. Because if you, with the whole like, the Philhar Magic building, Five and Dine, I mean what is that? What's the Hollywood and Dine building and Muppet? I mean, and Monsters. You can start bulldozing that shit without the Eastern Gateway. You only have to have the Eastern Gateway once you start going beyond that and into the busload area, right? So if you start on the DCA side, you can start earlier. And then once you get that Eastern Gateway up, then you can kind of start the construction process moving outward. So that's a great point. What do you think about that, Italiano? Is that a possibility? You think that might be something that might be kind of attractive to Disney, where they can technically start it sooner, at least in a phased thing, if you start in Hollywood Land as opposed to Simba? That
is true. Yeah, that's a very good point where, because technically they can't touch as much as, the prime real estate is in the symbol lot. It's all there right now, but technically it still has to stay a parking lot until they get all the structures up and going. They have to reroute things and what have you. Now, as far as like with Hollywood Land goes, they still need to get that moving because they still need access for the bus load unload area. But I think if you were to go a route like and open it up in phases, maybe phase 2 could be where the bus load unload area is. It depends on, I think, the angle in which the land is built. Like when we look at the concept art of Pandora, when we see the massive facade where the show building will be behind it, we're kind of imagining, okay, that's where the bus load unload area is going to be, and then all the stuff in front of it is going to move from, if we're walking down Hollywood Land, it's going to move left to right. But essentially that may not be the case. It may be where the facade and or the backstage building and the facade would be where the Hyperion is. Because I mean, the Hyperion is a huge building. You knock that thing out, and even behind it, I mean, that could be a good placeholder for the e-ticket itself.
Yeah, and I feel like, and we talked about it before on the show a lot, but the Hyperion is such an eyesore with the painted on sky and stuff. I don't know.
So ugly, dude.
It's ugly. And they're not even using it for entertainment. Like, I understand people like, oh, I'm upset about losing entertainment, which I would be too if there was actually entertainment in there.
Exactly, dude.
But there's not. So who cares? Bulldoze it. It's ugly. It sits there. It takes away from the look of the park. It's cheap. It's very much a remnant of DCA 1.0. Get right about. But Webba, go ahead. What are your thoughts on that whole?
No, well, just to that ugly sight though. When like even when I was younger, I would every time I would turn down that street, dude, turn left, walk down, and I would see this hideous, ugly, fake sky thing in the background. I'm like, what the hell is that? Why is Disney making such an ugly backdrop for it? Like that looks so fake. This doesn't even look like it belongs in a Disney park. Hideous. But anyways, I don't know. I would love for this to be built in the symbol lot, like George, you said, that is the prime real estate. But what I'm curious though, right, is because within 5 years, apparently, right, all these projects within 5 years, Avatar, Coco, and Avengers, right? So whether they're doing Avatar or not, they got to work on the other ones as well and get that done in time. So if they have to do those, they also have to do the parking. So where in that does the parking fit with Coco and the Avengers rides? No,
Which
Yeah,
that
I
is true,
agree.
because the parking eventually, the parking situation is going to have to move first. Like, I'm
Yeah.
surprised that they haven't even. I mean, they might have been starting small things, but I'm surprised we haven't seen significant changes towards building those parking structures, because no matter what, I think Pandora is going to take the hit for that the most, because no matter where you put it, whether it's in Hollywoodland or the Simba lot, they can't do really a damn thing about it until they start moving the parking structures, building the parking structures and moving basically everything out of the parking lots, because then you also have to reroute the buses. So as far as I think, we'll probably see Coco, and obviously the Avengers stuff will probably be the first, because really they don't need to touch anything. Because even with Coco, they have to figure out what to do with the parade buildings. So the start of 2025, Avengers Campus is going to be the first thing that is going to be, I think, moving speed fast. And OG had mentioned it many times on the channel before. When it comes to construction in California, it's like night and day to compare to Florida.
Oh yeah. I mean, look how long it took them to build Tron, which is basically just a coaster. I mean, there isn't much, like, to be honest. I mean, Tron doesn't have a whole lot of theming to it. The vehicles are the theme essentially in that ride.
It's a coaster.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Right?
But wasn't also construction also kind of delayed by the pandemic though?
Oh, that's true. It was. It was running through the pandy.
Yeah, but still, 6 years to build a coaster with a giant diaphragm on top of it, like
diaphragm.
But no, you're right though. Because a coaster, it's just the track, the trains, the show building, right? Like, fuck.
I love how you were gonna rant and then you coughed and you're like, just screw it. I was just say fuck.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm done. Just fuck.
Sorry guys, I'm still kind of sick, so.
no, but that's funny. No, but yeah, it's interesting. The Avengers stuff is definitely the first to get built, and I think they even said it. That it's going to start very soon, and it needs it. Avengers Campus, or Avengers Hallway, as Bricky calls it. It needs more to do. It needs more things, and the thing that I'm worried about, and I've mentioned this on a few videos now, but Pandora could really screw over Avengers Campus, though, in a big way, depending on where they put that. Now, if they put Pandora where Hollywood and Dine, Monsters, PhilharMagic, that whole little back area, the backlot area, and into that busload area, we're fine. Because then Avengers Campus has room to expand into like the animation building and the Hyperion and things like that. You have a lot of room. If it takes over Hollywoodland in general, Pandora does, then we have a problem, because now Avengers Campus has nowhere to grow. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough. And here's the other thing too. Kevin Feige pulls weight at Disney. He's going to want to have a little bit of room here. They can't really do, they can do Marvel in Florida, but they're very limited. They can do like Guardians and things like that, but they can't do the main cast. They can't do a Captain America ride over there. They can't do anything over there in Florida. So Kevin Feige in the States has to play within the Disneyland Resort sandbox. So is he going to be okay with Pandora taking over all of Hollywoodland and that boxes his land in? Probably not. But here's the other issue. Who's Avatar's baby? Well, James Cameron. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean, and that guy is, I mean, come on, this guy is I mean, everything he touches makes $2 billion. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. I think there's definitely conversations though between, there's James Cameron and there's Kevin Feige. I think there's a lot of conversations behind the scenes in regards to that balancing act, that kind of dance they have to do with this, because you really want both of these properties to kind of have room to grow. And it's tough if you put Pandora over there in Hollywoodland. So we'll see how that whole thing works. Go ahead, Webba.
So I want to ask you guys about. Okay, so and so what I love about Disneyland, right? Or even Walt Disney World, right? You have a hub, and then it splits off into different areas of the park, right? DCA, it does that, but then when you have like the Hollywood Boulevard area, it's just kind of like an extension of Buena Vista Street almost. So that's where I'm going to get thrown off is like if that turns into like Avatar. I know we talked about where it's like, oh, you could do like a military or urban setup or whatever, but it's still going to be like weird for me to go from like Buena Vista Street and then just turn left and then you're already in like this other area. So
yeah, that's why I think changing the theme to Disney Cinematic Adventure makes the most sense, because then if you make the park about living your favorite movies, experiencing these environments of your favorite movies, then Buena Vista Street makes sense like that in that context, because it makes sense to have, when you walk into the cinematic park, the first introduction to the park would be Hollywood, Los Angeles. So then it makes sense going down Los Angeles, and then you go into the realm of Avatar, you go into the realm of Marvel, you go into the realm of Pixar and Big Hero 6. Then that makes sense. But as a California adventure, it makes zero sense.
Right. No, exactly. And then I have a question for you, SamChat. Well, I mean, obviously you guys can answer as well. But what's your thought on like the current trend of like IP lands versus a general themed land with multiple IPs in it?
That's a good question. It's interesting because like, see, I feel like it makes sense to do like a whole IP land with Star Wars, because like Star Wars has proven itself to be like a timeless, to be like a timeless, brand, timeless IP.
Right.
With IPs like Avatar, I'm not sure, because like I'm not sure how timeless that movie is, how that movie will age. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, honestly, I kind of prefer it when Disney builds like lands that have multiple IPs rather than just one IP, because then you're just stuck with one IP, right? So
right.
And that's how like Walt Disney was. You're right, SamChat. Walt Disney, when he built Disneyland, the lands were very vague, Fantasyland, Frontierland, Adventureland. You could like literally put anything in Adventureland, I mean, in theory you could, so they were very vague. Now we have things like Galaxy's Edge, which is specifically towards one franchise, right? We have like, Avengers Campus, that's one franchise. And not only is Avengers Campus one franchise, but it's even more limited because they're focusing on the Avengers storyline stuff. Which is what I think one of the bigger mistakes. I think they should have made it more of a general like Marvel superhero area instead of tying it to the Avengers. I understand why they did at the time, because Avengers was like the big thing, but I think it would have been cooler to have like more of a generalized, like, kind of like what Universal does, like with Superhero Island, more about just focus on superheroes, not so much that Avengers angle. But they're getting very specific now, and
right.
that boxes you in.
Well, I mean, like now we have the Frozen, Zootopia lands, right? And this is why although I haven't been, I like the pictures and videos I've seen. Fantasy Springs, man, at Disney Tokyo. Oh man, dude, I love that thing.
It looks so good. It looks so cool.
It looks amazing.
But I'm saying
the Frozen ride looks really cool there.
Yeah. Oh, dude, with that one part where where
she's frozen and then like she unfreezes. Yeah, it's so cool.
It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. Go ahead, Eva. Sorry, bro.
No, I was gonna say what I love about it, right? It's one kind of general themed area, but you have the multiple IPs that can still represent that land.
Well, and it's still a vague overall theme.
Yeah.
It's like Fantasyland. It's just Fantasy Springs. I mean, it's basically the same thing. It's basically just Fantasyland, but instead of a land, it's a spring, right? Like, so it's not Tangled Land or Princess Land, right? They made it vague enough where you can put any, kind of fantasy based area in there or attraction. It works,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the land that really spearheaded just doing a single IP was from the success of Cars. I feel like when they just did Cars Land, which don't get me wrong, I love Cars Land. It's my favorite land in all of DCA. But I just think because of the success of that land, they kind of continued that trend to say, okay, well, how many lands can we actually make that is going to hold up multiple IPs at once, where we can kind of slow down a bit and take our time by having more IPs into our catalog. We could just take one IP at a time and just make one individual land out of it.
Well, and here's the thing. Yes, I think that was definitely a big catalyst. I also think just Universal in general with their Wizarding World stuff. That was a big moment in the theme park industry. I think Wizarding World was I think Disney noticed like, wow, you can, that changed how they kind of do things, because then we saw things like, Galaxy's Edge and then Pandora. Here's the other thing too, though. I want to, SamChat, this is for you. Interesting question here. Playing devil's advocate, right? With the whole like one IP per land or whatever. I just made the case that like, in Walt's day, it was more vague. But here's the thing, right? Because I kind of counter my own argument almost. In Walt's day, he didn't really have like franchises though. I mean, and not to like how we do now, right? So when he made a movie, that was it. It was Cinderella, and that was the only time you're ever going to see Cinderella. Like that was the movie, Cinderella, and that's it. Lady and the Tramp, it was that one movie, and that's it. But now when Disney has a hit, it's an ongoing thing. So you have multiple sequels. You might even have multiple TV shows based on that IP. So when you have it's not just about a movie anymore. It's like a whole franchise where you're experiencing these characters from multiple different films, multiple different shows. Does that change the dynamic when you're doing a land based on one IP? Like do you feel like that, like playing devil's advocate, does that sort of like give Disney a little more permission because you are offering more material for them to put into those lands because you have more films and more stuff like that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd say so actually. I think it just comes down to like how like viable a franchise is, and like I think it also comes down to like merchandising and like food as well. Like, could we think of creative like foods or like snacks and whatnot? Could we also have good merchandise? But yeah, like I think it makes sense actually to build an Avatar land, because there are going to be how many more movies? I think 3 more movies coming.
Yeah, I know.
The 5th Avatar is coming out in 2030. I'll be like 30 years old when Avatar 5 comes out.
You are such a youngin, SamChat. That's awesome. That is awesome.
But yeah, I agree. Like it makes sense, like having like it makes sense building like big lands for huge franchises like Avatar or even like Frozen, just because like Frozen merchandise and even Cars merchandise is like so huge, and like. And yeah, like when it comes to big franchises, it makes sense to give it one big land. I feel like even from like an immersion standpoint, it makes sense sometimes. Like sometimes like it doesn't always make sense to have like 2 IPs in a land from an immersion standpoint. But
yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I can definitely see both sides of the equation, because like you were right initially too, where you were saying it kind of boxes you in. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. When you have one franchise that boxes you in. And then I can kind of see the other side of the argument too, where it's like, yeah, but nowadays franchises are kind of ever producing, like Star Wars and, Avatar, the movies till the end of time, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, there's like a lot you could do with even like Marvel and Star Wars. But yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry guys. But OG, if I could, right? That was a very good.
But this is what, dude. If you could, you run the show, bro. It's Webba 55. Let's go. I like to fuck with you.
Oh,
Go ahead. Webba 55. Let's do it.
55, man. Let's go. So OG, like that was a very good like counter argument, right? It's very good. But I actually want to play devil's advocate to that, though.
Okay.
Now, granted, these were at the times when Disney was doing their straight to movie DVD crap, so they weren't as good. But for your franchises, though, a lot of the classic movies have sequels to them. We have Cinderella 2 and 3. We have a lot of live action stuff. We have 101 Dalmatians and 102 or something, right? We have Pocahontas 1 and 2, Hunchback 1 and 2, Little Mermaid 1, 2, and 3. We have 3 Aladdin movies. You know, we have Tarzan and Jane, Brother Bear 2. You know, so like a lot of these movies do have sequels as a franchise, I guess, but they were really shitty, so they never went anywhere. You know, we have Lion King 1 and 2, 1.5. Now we have the live action and then the Mufasa thing. So although Paris is getting their Lion King right, so that's dope. But yeah, anyway, I just want to point that out. Like, what do you think in terms of that, though? Right? Like, technically, these other movies still have more material to work with, even though they're probably really crap. So, like, are they still viable in that sense?
I think those storylines are irrelevant. I think it's just more of the franchise of based off of the original itself. Like, I don't really think if they were to do something with Beauty and the Beast, which I really wish that they would in the domestic, I don't know why they haven't. I can't foresee them going in and doing something from fucking Belle's Magical World. Like,
are you kidding me? That's what I was hoping for, man.
Dude, George, think about it. Belle's Magical World, bro. Come on.
Yeah, which, by the way, I met Belle today at the park, so it was pretty cool. She walked right by me, like, oh, what's up? What's up? No, but
you give her the OG 55 experience, bro.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
he was holding that on for Milan.
Milan, yeah.
He's like, so city, baby.
That's great. Absolutely. Oh my God, you guys. But yeah, no, I think it's interesting. It's an interesting conversation and the single IP lands. I mean, do you guys feel like, Webba, do you feel that like Disney is sort of falling out of favor a little bit with these single IP lands? I mean, I know we're getting Avatar, but do you think it's sort of becoming a little bit like they're taking their foot off the gas a little bit with that, or you think they're still full steam ahead with that?
Well, here's I think they are full steam ahead with it, right? Because going forward, right, we know Bob Iger and who else is going to come in is going to be like these parks are now IP driven. I mean, they always have, but now it's more than ever, right? My problem with these IP lands is more so for California, not for Florida, but more so California, is how much space they can take up, right? So let's say, for example, we get a Zootopia and Frozen like land, right? That's dope, but how much space of a limited space are you using up just for 2 franchises or for 2 like movies, basically?
That's a fair point. Because right, because like in Disneyland Resort, you only have so much space, right? So you don't have all this room. So you take up 9, 10, maybe even 12 acres for one property.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's a great argument, Webba. That's why it's Webba 55, right? No, but really good conversation today, guys. I mean, this is a lot of fun. SamChat, I want to have you back on again very, very soon. It's been way too long, brother. Way too long.
Sounds good. I'd love to come back. It's always fun chatting with the Italiano and OG and Mr. Webba.
Yes. And this is your first time with Mr. Webba, right?
Yeah.
There we go. There you go. You got the Mr. Webba experience right there.
Actually, real quick, there's one more thing I wanted to share about like the nighttime spectaculars real quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but like they gave out these really cool hats for like the these cool Mickey ears for like the 60th, where like you turn them on and then they like light up, and like you can sync them to like the different nighttime shows. So like they had them for paint, so like you could wear these for like Paint the Night and then like Disneyland Forever and even World of Color Celebrate. I don't know. I feel like it'd be cool if they brought this back.
The glow with the show.
Yeah,
that was a cool. There's actually, if you go on YouTube, they actually have for people that don't remember what Sam is referring to. If you type World of Color glow with the show, if you type that into YouTube, you can kind of see what this is. But they have like one viewing of World of Color where everyone in the audience had those on. And everyone's ears was like you were saying, Sam, were like in sync with the show itself. It's beautiful, you know. I wouldn't mind them bringing it back. What I would suggest to Disney, though, if they were to bring back glow with the show, is to make the ears cheaper. I think that was one of the issues that they had, because not a lot of people were buying them, so it didn't have that same effect, because it was like, you know, far and few between, you know, where if more people have it, it's a much more impressive experience. So I say I love it. I say bring it back to SamChat, but Disney should lower the price on it so that way more people can engage, can participate. And the more people that are in that system and watching the show, the more we can glow. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you just got to shine. George, do you ever do the glow with the show or no?
I do. Yeah, I've had the ears, not the ones that Sam has, but I've had the ones that look like they're very like psychedelic with different colors on it. Yeah, I have partake in the World of Color glow with the show. The only thing is, I would love to see if I can have those ears sync to the OG 55 experience and the Italiano effect. Like that was cool, you know. But yeah, I mean, if they did something like that again, I think it was very creative. I think to have like audience participation, so to speak, without actually them doing anything, it's just you're part of the show just based off an accessory. It's the little things that count, and I think it kind of added a little more finesse to World of Color. Which, speaking of which, I am very excited to see a different rendition of World of Color rather than World of Color 1. Really hate to say this. I'm so sick of it right now. I'm probably in the minority, but for me, seeing Marvel and Star Wars in a World of Color show just doesn't fit for me. It feels so out of place. And of course, everyone knowing me, being a 90s kid, I love a goofy movie. So the fact that they're going to add a Powerline segment into the new World of Color show, I'm all for it. But as far as like with Star Wars and Marvel, it just never really fit for me into World of Color.
No, I would agree with you. And I'm not one of these people, one of these fans like, well, that's not Disney. You know, they bought those properties. I'm like, okay, I don't really care about that. I mean, you know, technically, like Walt Disney, Mary Poppins wasn't Disney either. You know, he adapted it, and like Disney's has a history of sort of taking other people's stuff and sort of doing their own thing with it. So this is the newest iteration of that long tradition at Disney. You know what I'm saying? So I don't mind them being part of the Disney family at all. But I would agree with you. For some reason, World of Color doesn't feel right with those two properties. I don't really know why, but it just doesn't. A Marvel parade would be dope. That I would love to see in DCA, right? A giant Hulk float and things like that would be really, really cool. In terms of World of Color, the new one, I think it's called World of Color Happiness, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I love the storytelling device of that show. It's you're actually, they're going to use the Inside Out 2 characters to sort of guide you through the various emotions, which I think could make a very clean show in terms of like the segments. They can take sadness and have all the sad Disney movie scenes, and they can have joy and have all the happy Disney moments, right? And they can kind of go through all the emotions in a very cohesive way, if done right. There's a huge asterisk with this, if done right. But I like that idea because it gives you the ability to sort of segment the show in a very clean way where the audience can kind of follow along, and you're tying in one of Disney's biggest franchises right now, Inside Out 2. It's kind of brilliant. That doesn't mean that the show is going to be an automatic home run. We got to see how the execution is, but the potential's there. I like the idea. I like what they're going with. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I just want them to bring back the original World of Color. Like that one was like peak. So
the soundtrack in World of Color is so good, and like everything just flows so nicely.
Yes, yes.
And I also love like the Pirates of the Caribbean scene too. Is pretty dope.
Yeah, no,
actually, you know, yeah. For some reason, it's funny, SamChat. Like Pirates fit better in World of Color for me than what Star Wars and Marvel does.
Yeah, probably because it's like Disney. But yeah, that was a cool scene. The World.
And then the soundtrack. I mean, the soundtrack to Pirates is
yeah,
so good.
But dude, like just the ending though of the original World of Color was so great. Color, it's a carousel color. You know, like it's just awesome, dude. I liked it. It was so cool.
They took an old show, The Wonderful World of Color, a big part of Disney's history. And they turned that into a nighttime spectacular with beautiful color, LED lights and all that. It was such a brilliant way to incorporate the past, but sort of bring Disney into the future.
Yeah.
And it was so well done. They haven't really hit the nail on the head for me personally since that first show. I would agree with you guys. Not that I hated every iteration of the show. I don't hate them, but they just never really hit me the same way. You hate them?
No, I hate them. It's just like, yeah, compared to the original, it's like, I kept on telling myself the last time I was out there, oh yeah, I just want to go see World of Color just to go see it. But it's like, I never make it my main priority because it's like, for me, it's like, if I see it, I see it. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah, George hates it.
I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress.
That was actually George talking about World of Color. No, but I, in all seriousness, yeah. I mean, the shows after the original have not been the best, but enjoyable to varying degrees, but just not. It never hit the same way as that first show. That first show was just so incredible.
Even like the Little Mermaid segment was really cool too. How like
Yeah,
she sings part of your world, like you see like the fountains and there's that really beautiful like instrumental melody playing. It's really cool.
Sam, I'm glad you brought that up actually, because one of the best things that you can do with a lot of these shows is have simplicity. One of my biggest issues with a lot of the World of Color, the other versions of the show, is that they try too hard to sort of like, they throw every effect at you. They got the what's it called? The coaster lit up. They got every fountain going off and flame effects, and they're throwing every effect in the book at you, including the kitchen sink, right? Sometimes though, simplicity is more effective. When you have just the entire lagoon with blue fountains and that melody of part of your world, that's all you needed, man. And it's like, it just hits you so hard. It's so simple. It's just music and water and light, and it's beautiful.
Well, and also too, the take on the lyrics of the song, like when it goes, a red summer rose, and it shows the rose of Beauty and the Beast, a sunset in the sky, and then you see the Lion King. It's like, especially when they have it like back to back to back with the Renaissance era films,
Right?
Like, oh man, it's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's so good. It's so
well,
perfect.
I feel like the problem with the current version is that it just feels like there's like throwing movie IPs into the show. There's no really cohesiveness to it, right?
Right.
And that's kind of my problem a little bit with the current version of Fantasmic. More so while Disney was Fantasmic, but that's just what it kind of gets annoying, is that they want to bring in these new IPs or whatever, which is fine, but then it just kind of feels like it's just thrown in there, not really planned really well for like a show to hit you at certain points and execute it in a cohesive manner to where it like makes sense. It's like, oh look, here's Star Wars, here's Marvel, here's Pirates, here's Moana. It's like
a cut and paste. It's like you take all these IPs, you cut them, and you splice them all into one show. But actually, I'm glad you actually brought Fantasmic up, because here's the big elephant in the room, or should I say dragon, is do we possibly see the dragon coming back for the 70th, like at some point? Because I made the argument that it may not show up like right at the very beginning of the 70th, but during the time frame of the 70th, it may come later on. Or do you think that they'd just save it for like maybe in between the 70th and the 75th?
SamChat, you haven't been on in a while. What do you think? You think that, because these anniversaries usually run 18 months, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a year and some change, year and a half basically, to sort of have other things kind of enter the equation. Now, obviously, we haven't gotten any official word on it yet, so it's not going to premiere in May. That's not going to happen. But is it?
It'd be cool if they surprise us, though.
It would be cool. It would be cool. And the Italiano said at the Disney Christmas Parade, or the Disney Parks Parade, I think they call it now, on ABC, they're going to give us more detail. It's possible they're saving something like that for that show. Who knows?
Yeah.
But is it possible? Do you think we're going to get the dragon back sometime within this celebration?
That's a really good question. I don't know how long it took them to build the original Dragon Murphy. From my understanding, and I hope I remember this correctly, but from my understanding, like, I think it was the summer of 2008, 2009, like, the Dragon Murphy was supposed to debut in June, but then it got like delayed to September. I think that's how that went. I could be wrong.
And your time frame is about right. It was the summer night-tastic, right? Promotion.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like
That sounds right.
2008, 2009-ish.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, but no, I would love to see the dragon come back. I hope it still breathes fire. If that effect is gone, I'd understand because what happened was very serious, and we're very thankful no one got hurt.
absolutely.
But yeah, I hope it does come back because like it's cool, you know, like it's like the climax of Fantasmic, right? Like the dragon comes up and then he breathes fire, and then Mickey's like, "This is my dream," and then he.
Oh man, that was
and
good,
then
Sam. That was good, SamChat.
that was good. You like that?
That sounded so good that YouTube's they're gonna copyright claim you. They're like, you're using Mickey Mouse footage. That was really, really good, actually.
Thank you.
I think you're just. Yeah,
I was missing the ears.
There it is. There it is. What say you, Italiano?
No, I was going to say I think they find Brett's replacement.
I think so. I think so. Yeah, I hope Murphy. I hope Murphy, aka the Dragon, shows up for the 18-month celebration. Hopefully, we'll see. But I don't know. I'm iffy on it. When did they start even building that thing? Was it like a year ago or something? How long ago was that? Because they had to wait for the investigation to end.
When was the incident?
I think it was April 2023 because I remember coming home from work at like 10:30 at night, and I went on my phone and I was like, "Oh my god!"
April 20. So it's only been a year and a half, like a year,
like
almost
60 months, give or take.
Yeah, interesting.
If I did that math right.
Interesting. Maybe it comes back. Maybe it comes back for maybe towards the end. I mean, they do that sometimes. Disney World was adding stuff as they go for their 50th.
That might be their way of like maybe capping off the 70th anniversary, like bring it back like right at the end.
Yeah, that's interesting. Hopefully, we'll see. And hopefully it's just as cool, just as badass. Like you said, SamChat, I want that fire. I want that intensity.
Yeah, if we have time, I wanted to quickly ask all of you like what your thoughts are on the Rivers of America at Magic Kingdom, that whole thing, and like if we think the same thing will happen at Disneyland if we have time.
No, we have time, bro. I mean, I'm glad you brought this up.
I was hoping I could share my thoughts.
Oh, of course.
You go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Well, there's only one logical conclusion to make here, and it's that Bob Iger hates America. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
He hates America. Yes, that's exactly what it is, bro.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, so like, but here's what's interesting, right? So like I kind of see where
that earned you SamChat 55. There you go.
There you go.
Nice. But yeah, like when you look at like all the rivers of Americas like around the world, like even like Disneyland in California, like you can tell like from like a park capacity perspective, from like an efficiency perspective, Magic Kingdom's Rivers of America is definitely the weakest of the four. So like even when you look at like Disneyland Paris, like I don't know if you guys seen the Big Thunder Mountain at Disneyland Paris, but like it's actually on the island, which is really cool because like it's sort of a more efficient use of space, and you turn the island over there at the Rivers of America. I don't know if they call them the Rivers of America in Paris. I think they're actually called Rivers of the Far West. I could be wrong, but anyways, like
yeah, that would be so bizarre to name it Rivers of America in France. Like that, but you see what I'm saying though, because it's like a much more efficient use of space because Big Thunder Mountain is an e-ticket, and that whole space is being used much more efficiently. And even same with Hong Kong Disneyland. I don't think they technically have a Rivers of America at Hong Kong Disneyland, but when you look at the map, like you see they have something that resembles the Rivers of America over there at Hong Kong. But what's cool is like the Jungle Cruise boats actually travel along the Rivers of America there. So they really turn the Rivers of America over at Hong Kong into an e-ticket. So like, so like even in like Paris and like Hong Kong, like those are much more efficient uses of like the whole Rivers of America land. And even like Fantasmic, which debuted in 1992, which is the same year that Disneyland Paris opened. So I really think this is like an issue that started under Michael Eisner. But anyways, like I would make the argument that when Fantasmic opened at Disneyland, like that really saved the Rivers of America from like a business perspective, even from efficiency perspective. Because from my understanding, before the Rivers of America opened, before Fantasmic opened, like that like whole area of the park at night wasn't like
getting much like, foot traffic. And like Disney thinks of so many ways to like monetize Fantasmic, from like merchandise and like
Yes.
those like Blue Bayou dining packages. And like I bet there's even like an increase in like food sales in that time, because whenever I watch Fantasmic in there, I always like watch it while eating beignets or like a corn dog or something. So I bet even like increased food sales. But yeah, like that's why yeah, go ahead.
No, you bring up a great point, Sam. And that's why, yes, I don't think that our Rivers of America here at Disneyland will ever get replaced. Number one, it's Disneyland, which is like Walt's original park.
Mhm.
And I think the Imagineers have a real affinity for Disneyland. We always joke around about it here on the channel. They definitely have a Disneyland bias. Okay, you can see the quality they put into Disneyland compared to that of like like DCA, right? Clearly, there is a bias there, But you're right. The Rivers of America in Magic Kingdom was not really monetized like ours is. We have, like you said, Fantasmic with all the dining packages and all that stuff attached to that river now. That thing's not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Now, in terms of like the Rivers of America and Magic Kingdom, I think it's a smart decision. I really do. I know my Rivers of America fans are gonna hate me for this, but respectfully, I do believe it was a good decision, because Magic Kingdom, and especially after going to it, like over a year ago, right, George? For my first time, it felt like a weaker version of Disneyland. It felt like I call it the live action Disneyland, Sam, because that's what it feels like. I feel like it's trying to do what the original thing did, and it's technically checking all the boxes, but it has no soul to it. You know what I'm saying? It feels like a copy of a copy of a copy or whatever. It just feels weird to me. Yeah. If you change Magic Kingdom to be something totally different, where there's no more of those comparisons, and it really does become its own thing, and it can kind of break out from underneath the shadow of Disneyland, I think it will benefit Magic Kingdom greatly. And they're doing that now. You got the Cars Land coming in, you got the Villains Land coming in. It's going to become its own thing. Very similar to what I've said many times on the channel as well with Tower of Terror. When it was Tower of Terror, it was a weak ride because everyone compared it to the better Tower of Terror in Florida. Once it was Mission Breakout, right, George? Mission Breakout. Once it became Mission Breakout, it became its own thing, and you don't see those comparisons anymore. And no one says it's a weak version of anything because it's its own thing. I think Magic Kingdom is kind of going in that direction. It's becoming its own park. It's a good thing. If you like Rivers of America, go to Disneyland. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and that also, a lot of fans complain about cloning and, oh, why do we need the same thing in every park? Well, okay. I mean, now this gives you Floridians, gives you a reason to come to Disneyland, I guess, doesn't it? And try something different. So it works out. You know what I'm saying?
Even like, I bet, and I totally understand why like fans are upset about the Rivers of America closing. Yeah, because I totally understand it. I mean, I love the Finding Nemo ride at Disneyland, like the whole thing. I just love it. I'm probably the only person on Disney Twitter who does. So I'll be sad when that thing closes. But like Magic Kingdom gets very busy, and let's face it, like, that land isn't being used efficiently in a park that needs more capacity. Like I remember even watching like in December of 2019, watching videos of like Magic Kingdom on Christmas Day in 2019, and everyone was like shoulder to shoulder.
And that was mentioned many times before, even by the fans, of saying, "Oh, Walt Disney World, especially with Magic Kingdom, they need to hold more capacity. They need to hold more people in these parks." Well, how do you do that? You expand the lands. However, OG and I mentioned this time and time again on the channel that even though Walt Disney World does have the blessing of size, they do have a lot of room. There's still a lot of areas that cannot be used for park expansion, for construction, whether it's for water levels, whether it's for natural conservation, which that was big for Walt. He wanted certain areas of Walt Disney World to not be touched, for it to stay for the natural beauty and wildlife of the swamp areas that he purchased. And then, of course, Disney is going to want to utilize, again, what we were talking about with Disneyland, the footprints of the park itself before they go beyond outside of the perimeter of the parks. Now, of course, that'll start moving eventually once they get into Villains Land, but it's like for the Rivers of America compared to Disneyland, and Sam, to even your point, even to the one in Paris, what is there really to do? There's nothing really. It's aesthetically nice. It's very beautiful. I do know they need more natural, organic feel, especially for Magic Kingdom. But you could still do that if they do it right with the Cars Land area. You
Well,
know,
yeah, and that's the thing.
Geysers, they could do a whole bunch of stuff.
You can. I mean, like I said so many times, the Cars Land at DCA is one of the most amazing lands Disney has ever done. And not only are they going to, I think, bring that energy and that aesthetic to Magic Kingdom, but they're also, like you were saying, George. Here we go. Since you mentioned that, George, it's Italiano 55. There we go. But not only are you going to bring the Cars Land aesthetic, which is already beautiful and gorgeous, let's be honest, you know what I'm saying? But now you're also adding a Grizzly Peak element to it, sort of, with that kind of national park vibe, with the geysers, the giant, trees. I mean, you couldn't pick two more beautiful, in my opinion, examples of Imagineering. Both of these lands are very, very good. And now, again, we have to wait and see how it turns out. But I have no reason to believe it's not going to turn out amazing. I really do believe they're going to put a lot of effort into this and make it the best they can. Now, one question, though, I do have for you, George. Mm-hmm. Do you think the absence of John Lasseter this time around is going to hurt the Cars Land project? We've never talked about that.
Oh, that's a good question. That is true, because, I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due. As I said, John was very much a stickler when it came to working, because he was a consultant in WDI. And he made sure that when he was involved in a project, especially when it came to Pixar and the Pixar characters and the brand, he wanted it very authentic. He wanted it very real. And he got on stage at D23, and he did not mince his words. He said, he actually said this to an executive, are you going to stand at the exit of these rides and tell every single person that goes on this that you sacrificed funding for this when it's a piece of crap? And he actually said something of those words. He actually said crap, and the whole arena erupted with it. And I think too, it came to a point where when Lasseter wanted something and he was in a position of running both animation studios and being a part of WDI, he was basically a triple threat. And I felt like they didn't really know what to do with him with that, because when it came time for cost cutting and everything, and especially in the Chapek manner, I think even Chapek didn't even really know how to approach Lasseter with that kind of stuff, because Lasseter had his hands on that Cars Land big time. He worked with former Imagineer Kathy Mangum and former Imagineer Kevin Rafferty. He worked with them to make Cars Land to what it is today. So that is a slight concern in that sense, because I feel like as long as they keep the aesthetics of the tradition, like that you have mentioned, OG, like with the rock work and everything, and try to keep it natural, but still give it that animated look to it, but that still have that wonder and beauty, I think they can still pull it off. But they have to use that same formula that they used with the original Cars Land. If they go off of that, then it can look like a generic version of Cars Land. But I don't think Disney's going to do that, because they know, just like with the Walt Disney animatronic, a lot on the line, that, or even I'll just go out there, even with Monsters Inc., it's going to be replacing Muppets. These lands and attractions and expansions and projects are replacing things that in the fandom we hold dearly, and they have to hit it out of the ballpark. And especially because Cars Land is going to pave the way for Villains Land.
No pun intended, pave the way.
Pave the way.
There's a lot riding on this, George. You know what I'm
saying? I mean, this land can't have a flat tire. You know,
Yeah, yeah. You don't want it to fall
Yeah.
flat, right? You don't want it to fall flat. But Sam, what's your thoughts on that? The Lasseter effect, right? I mean,
That's a really good point.
right? Because despite the fact everyone at home and everything, what they think about him as a person, what he did or whatever, why he got fired, completely right in this conversation, kind of irrelevant. What about his involvement? So go ahead,
agree.
Sam.
Like he was, I mean, yeah, like I totally understand why he was like fired and all that, but like he was pretty talented. Like he was really the only person that could ever get the fandom excited over something as small as Pixar Pure.
I know.
Yeah, that's a really good point, George. I really hope they use like the same formula. Who knows? Maybe they will do like a couple research trips, just like how they did research trips for Route 66 when they were building the first Cars Land.
True.
But I have faith in Imagineering because Bob Iger is back, who is the CEO when the first Cars Land was built, and Bruce Vaughan, who's the chief creative officer of Walt Disney Imagineering when the first Cars Land was built, is also back. So honestly, I have faith that it'll be good, but I always just feel bad for Imagineers in these kinds of situations because like the Imagineers are given the task of creating a replacement to an attraction that's so loved by fans, such as Muppet Vision and like the Rivers of America thing. Like I always just feel bad for the Imagineers because like this current like generation of Imagineering is still making good stuff.
Yeah.
But, like it's just such a bummer. It's kind of a bummer when like the fans like not everyone obviously, but like when there are like a few fans out there who like are always going to look as like the attraction that replaced Rivers of America. You know what I'm saying? Like I just feel bad for them.
No, 100%, 100%. Like a lot of these decisions, I mean, they're not Imagineering decisions. When Disney comes to them, Burbank comes to them and says we need something for this area. That I mean, Imagineering doesn't really have a lot of pull with that. I mean, it's basically, I mean, they have some say, but these are decisions that are coming from, like higher up, and they're just doing their job essentially. They're being told we need to replace this with something else, figure something out. They're figuring it out. What say you, Mr. Webba? What do you think about Rivers of America with the John Lasseter connection or lack thereof right now?
Oh yeah. So I think that he was a very talented dude, right? I mean, and with George's point, George, I want to bring this up. You were talking about like the rock work and stuff from our Cars Land here. If they can make it look like it is authentic from the Cars world, but still make it look like natural, exactly. I think that'll look very beautiful, right? Especially at nighttime, right? At nighttime, Cars Land here is amazing, dude. All the nice lighting package you get on it. Dude, I'm sure at nighttime they'll have a really cool lighting package for their Cars Land or whatever they're going to call that as well. So I think it'll be fine. I mean, yes, I do understand people are upset about the Rivers of America. I understand that that's kind of like a nice natural centerpiece to like a castle park. But again, OG, like what you're saying, people are tired of clones, right? Like cloning things. And that's actually a question, OG, I actually kind of want to ask SamChat. How do you feel about cloned attractions, right? For example, when news first broke out that we were getting a West Coast Pandora, people, the community, man, were flipping their shit, dude. They're like, I don't want a Pandora. We already have one in Florida. Let's let's get something else. I don't want, Avatar. But in my mind, yes, I know there has been some clone stuff, but I'm like, in this day and age, like for that big of an IP, James Cameron, I'm like, I don't think Disney will do an exact clone of Pandora. So like, how do you feel like, for me, for example, right now, Walt Disney World Animal Kingdom is getting their own Indiana Jones. I think that's cool, right? Because we have one in Tokyo, but it's a different story, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, cool. That's fine.
Yeah, that's a good question. See, the thing when it comes to cloning for me is like for example, right, like with Avatar, as you were saying, right? Like I appreciate that they didn't like build exactly what they built in Animal Kingdom. It's like a different take. It's gonna be more based on Avatar 2, The Way of Water, and Avatar 3, Fire and Ash. Like I appreciate when Disney does that, and even with like Cars, like with the state side, like I don't really like it when like they just clone exactly. Like they clone the exact same thing. Like with Rise of Resistance, like I think it would have been cool if like maybe one coast was like Kylo Ren and then another coast was Darth Vader. Like differences like that. But But yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. But like, I do appreciate like Disney like actually doing like something original, and like I appreciate when Disney does something original and they don't just clone it. But with that said, there are some clones I have an exception to. Like if they brought like the Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast right over at Tokyo Disneyland to California,
Oh, yeah,
that would be amazing. I would have no
that's
problem
off
with
the
that.
table. If they want to clone whatever the hell they want from the international parks,
Well, that's
Or
what
even
I'm
like Mystic Manor. Like I know like the normies don't like really care for Mystic Manor. They probably don't, but like I would still love to see Mystic Manor in California. Like there's some
Me too.
like more like the overseas stuff. I have an exception for when it comes to cloning. But like when it comes to stateside stuff, like
Yeah.
just cloning Rise of Resistance again, like that's for me that's a little lazy. But like I understand like then there's like costs, like then it's like cost saving. There's a whole other cost saving
but
thing too.
I'm right with you on that, Sam. I don't mind them using the same IP. I just would prefer them to, if they're going to use the same IP, but use it in a different way. So we get
Yeah.
a whole new, different kind of experience. We get, new base kind of attractions and what have you. That it's like every time that I mean, in about a week, I'm going to be a California resident, but at that time, every time of traveling over to California, I always look forward to say, oh, I get to see Cars Land because I can't find it anywhere else. So I was concerned when the rumors were floating around that Magic Kingdom was gonna get Cars, and I'm like, no, I don't want Cars over in Magic Kingdom. But when they presented it in this new way, I'm thinking, okay, I can deal with that. It's the same IP, but it's presented in a different manner. And I'm going to call it right now. I could be wrong, but how I do it in Italiano fashion, how I channel the universe with certain things that I feel I feel like this Cars area, even though that's the name of the location, but I think that they're going to utilize the name of the location for the land itself. It's going to be called Piston Peak.
I like the
Ooh.
name. That's a good
That's nice.
name.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because we look at the concept art, like all the cars are like racing down like a mountain, basically, right? So you have a peak of a mountain, right? And the Piston Cup, right? So yeah, I think that'd be actually cool name. Oh, I just
Yeah, I really like that name. It reminds me of Piston Cup and like that funny scene in the first Cars when Lady McQueen is like, Doc Hudson won 3 Piston Cups, and the Mater's like, he did what in his cup?
Yeah, I love it. I will
Cars
say
is a
that
good movie.
the Cars films are decent. They're the first one is obviously the best one.
Yeah, I agree.
Cars 3, I feel like, is the continuation of the first one, and then and then Cars 2. Anyway, but kind of going off that, I think like the Cars, it gives off this sense of like adventure, but the adventure of like it's not about the destination, it's the journey sort of thing. And
the friends we made along the way.
Exactly, yes. And it's like you get that vibe when you walk through Cars Land, and that's how strong they hit the nail on the head, because every single time you get that feeling when you walk into Cars Land, that's the feeling that I actually got when I watched the first movie. So I hope that they keep that same kind of way with Piston. OG, you were gone. I'm saying it right now. I'm calling it here on OG 55. The new Cars Land area is actually going to be called what the area is. It's going to be called Piston Peak.
Oh, probably. Yeah, that's a great name though. I like it. I like it a lot. Piston Peak. Yeah. Wasn't that your nickname in college, George? No.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I was kidding, but yeah, interesting stuff, man. This is a great conversation, Sam. A lot of great stuff today. We talked a lot about both coasts, actually. Disneyland and Walt Disney World. I want to thank you again for coming on, sir. We'll have you on again very, very soon. Hit me up if you ever have any more topic ideas or anything you want to discuss. Just hit me up, and we'll get you on, and we'll talk shop again, brother.
Sounds good.
Yeah, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you to everyone at home for watching. You can find me on, you can find me on SamChat21 on X, formerly known as Twitter. And you can also find me on samchat21.bsky.social over at BlueSky. But yeah, I'm not as active on Twitter. To quote Mark Hamill, I'm off to BlueSky, for bluer skies.
There we go. Absolutely,
that's-
absolutely. I think it's I haven't been on X. I don't really go on X that much anymore. Like it's just like I have anxiety, bro, and like the X is not the place to be if you got anxiety, So I limit my time on there. I mostly just dabble with like if I have to like coordinate a show or something, but I don't really tweet that much anymore. So I feel you on that with Sam with how bad X has gotten. It really has gotten really bad. But Sam, I will link all your social media stuff in the description down below. Everybody at home, make sure you follow him. Very passionate Disney fan. Make sure you check it out. He is a friend here on the channel, so support him and check out his social media pages. Mr. Webba, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Yes, sir. Again, this was a fun show. Thank you so much, OG and Sam and George. You can find me, Mr. Webba, at Webslinger760 on Twitter, Threads, and Instagram, which is what I'm most active on.
Yep. And enjoy that special access, Mr. Webba. Bob Iger's going to pick you up. That's the SS Bob Iger pulling into port, ready to pick up Mr. Ebba for a special access. Italiano and brunch. Exactly. You got to have brunch, bro. You got to have brunch.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wait, if we're going to do that, have the Palo brunch.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Exactly. Mr. Italiano, where can everybody at home find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and BlueSky under the Disney Italiano.
I know.
And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There we go. Thank you all so much for watching. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today. We talked about the 70th. We talked about the future of the Disneyland Resort with Avatar, and Coco, DCA theme change possibly. We talked about the Rivers of America. We talked about a host of things. We would love to hear your opinions on all of it. Comment down below. And thank you for watching this episode of OG Indie.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.